Be Your Best You, the Passionate to Purpose podcast with David Delaney. Hello there and welcome. It's Sunday evening here when I'm recording this after a day of updating websites, creating a new one, working on podcasts, working on content for podcasts, working on all the stuff that I wanted to work on today. And my head could be melted, which it was tempted to be a few times today, but I embraced mindfulness. And one of the things that I did, I stepped back. For example, the distribution of this podcast has changed. So you have to do it all manually and individually. So now it's available still on Amazon, on Apple, on Spotify, on whatever, all of these platforms. Some I didn't even know existed, but you have to load it up manually to each one and set up the distribution. So today I'm going to talk about how spending a few minutes a day being mindful can actually change how you react, because your reaction to everything is how you live your day. Like, you get up in the morning, you react badly, you'll see that your whole day can be actually set, the tone of the day can be set by your reaction to something. So if you're aware that your mind is wandering, you're halfway to a successful mindfulness practice, because mindfulness is paying attention to everything happening around you. That's basically it. There's no guru needed to tell you. It's just about being mindful of what is happening around. So mindfulness has some extraordinary effects on the brains of people who practice it regularly. So, like, people talk about practices and mindfulness practices. It's pretty simple. And just by stopping for 5 minutes and actually reflecting on what you're doing, how it's affecting you, and noticing what's coming up, particularly in the body. In my work as an embodiment coach, I encourage clients to notice what is coming up in the body when something happens, or when something is said, or something is done. So brain activity is redirected from ancient reactionary parts of the brain, including what they call the limbic system, to the newer part of the brain, which is your prefrontal cortex, the rational thinking part of the brain. And sometimes achieving calm has everything to do with starting things off right each day, and it kicks in the different parts of the brain that you need to kick in. So it doesn't have to be practiced. Like, mindfulness is not about, a 30-minute meditation sequence, under a tree. It can be done on the spot. I often work with clients and I say, if you're driving, use the traffic lights as a mindfulness opportunity. If the traffic light is red, don't get angry. Use that 30 or 40 seconds to actually think about what's going on and to reflect and be in the now, at that moment in time. So there's a guy called Mark Williams, and he wrote a book called Mindfulness, an 8-week plan for finding peace in a frantic world. And he encourages us to live in the moment every day. Start living right here, in each present moment. And when we stop dwelling on the past or worrying about the future, we're open to rich sources of information that we've been missing out on, which is information that sorry, my dog just farted. Information that can keep us out of the downward spiral and poised for a richer life. That's what he says. Sister Concilio Fitzgerald from the Coonwera rehabilitation centres also has a very, very similar attitude when it comes to living in the now. She encourages people to live in the now, because we can't change what has happened and we can't work on what is about to happen. So if we live in the now, it allows us to live a better life. So when we practice and apply these things, mindfulness fundamentally alters the operating system of the mind. So in less than 5 minutes a day, you can become less reactive and more in tune with the moment. So in that 5 minutes lies the opportunity to improve the way you decide and direct, the way you engage with everyone around you. Now, a lot of people find mornings the best time to practice mindfulness, but look, you can do it at any time of the day. So it can help you to select your responses. It makes you make calculated choices instead of succumbing to those reactionary decisions every single day that we do. So it's about creating that awareness, because every activity in life can be trigger to bring us back to the present moment. In our distracted world, it's essential for well-being to take a few minutes each day to cultivate a mental spaciousness and achieve a positive mind-body balance. Now, this can be hard, but it's not impossible. In fact, simple focused breathing can do wonders for you in any situation. And, breathing's not the only exercise that you can do to try and reset your mind. Try observing, try listening, try appreciating, and do this with intent. Do all these things more intentional. You can be more present in your morning routine. Again, when I'm working with clients, I often ask them, how many teeth do you have? And count them when you're brushing. Something we do on autopilot every day. It's an atomic habit, or an automatic habit. Sorry, Atomic Habits is a book by James Clear. It's an automatic habit that we do and we take for granted. But use it and actually brush each tooth, and that can help. Being mindful every day, it changes your relationship to things. So it changes your relationship to yourself, to others, and your work. And your work. And if you do it successfully and consistently, and make it a habit, make it an atomic habit, as James Clear would advise, you'll sleep better, you'll feel less stressed, and you'll have more energy. Talk about journaling. I'm a great fan of journals. I sent out an e-shot there about 2 weeks ago about journaling, and about how I skipped a day and how that was okay. And instead of looking at that, this is just a precursor to what I'm saying about journaling. But when you skip a day, or if you skip a day due to life happens, instead of going, I should have wrote in that journal or whatever, write a day well lived in there. Just simply put in a day well lived. If you are journaling, when you are journaling, embrace positive journaling. And that's about counting your blessings, your everything good that happened in that day. So each day, just spend 2 minutes writing about 1 or 2 positive experiences that happened to you in the past 24 hours. Every night for this week, set aside 10 minutes before you go to sleep and write down 3 things that went well today and why they went well. And you can use a journal on your computer to write about. I recommend that you go old school. Get your pen and paper. You probably have a little journal lying around the house, but make a physical record of what you wrote. Actually commit to paper the positive things, because what you are actually doing with that is you're creating that experience in the mind again, and you're creating the positive, the cells in your brain, the positive cells are actually sticking, and they're creating that experience, and it's creating more of that positive experience. So that's three new things you are grateful for, and do that for 21 days, 3 weeks. And this helps the brain to constantly be on the lookout for something positive to appreciate. Neurons that wire together, fire together. That's what they say. So it's, as I say, it's reliving the situation, and it doubles the positive impact that it has in your life. And it's the experience of doing this is actually quite positive. It's positive in itself, of course, but it's amazing when you actually look back at the automatic habit and the atomic habit that you get into. You can journal to capture, reflections on your purpose and how you're continuing to show up for that. A lot of people will have, their New Year's resolutions or their February resolutions or whatever the heck, you're just your resolutions. But over time, you'll actually be creating a record of your life, and that will provide valuable perspective. Gratitude is something I want to talk about as well in this brief session, as part of your 5 minutes a day. Practice gratitude. No matter how bad things seem, there's almost always something that's going right. Yeah? So mindfully build on that. What's the one unique thing that you are grateful for today? Think about that. One single thing so far today that you are grateful for. Write it down. And practice writing everything you're grateful every now and then. Practice, every now and then, but also do it as part of the nightly practice I just talked about. Don't write the same things every day. It's easy to get into that habit of, I am grateful for good coffee. I am grateful for my dog. I am grateful for whatever it is. Think of something outside the box. I am grateful for the air that allows me to breathe. I am grateful for the breath that I can take. I am grateful for the weather that allowed the flower outside my window to blossom. There's lots of things to actually be grateful. And there's where the mindfulness thing kicks in. It's looking at things that we can be eternally grateful for. So we're starting with 3 things. And if I was working with you long term, I would actually encourage you to just to develop that and expand on that. Some clients I work with are actually, they could write 100 things in a week that they are grateful for. There's 100 things in a day that we can be grateful for. So when we do this, there was a study done on this about grateful people, and it found that they were something like 25% happier. So this is one of the simplest, most effective ways to actually boost your well-being. And Charles Dickens put this quite well. He said, "Reflect upon your present blessings, of which every man has many, not your past misfortunes, of which all men have some." So what I do is I just pause for a minute here, right? You can pause the podcast. Take a deep breath and sense what it's like to be alive in this very moment. in this very body, in this very being, this very state that you are in right now. This moment is your life, and it's yours alone to manage and make the most of it. That's quite profound, thinking about that. And what are you grateful for? So, as I say, the podcast is available across all these platforms now. I'm working on some new newsletters this week, which you can subscribe to on beyourbestYou.ie. And there will be details coming up of a workshop that I'm going to be running in person in Portlaoise in Ireland in the next couple of weeks, which I'll be recording, and that'll be available for people to attend online then as well. So beyourbestYou.ie, and I will leave you there today. Journal, mindful, and be grateful. And I'll leave it there. Have a good week. Be Your Best You, the Passion to Purpose podcast with David Delaney.